Hi, my name's Jo Wallace and I'm a creative director at Wunderman, Thompson. I'm also the founder and host of Good Girls Eat Dinner, which is an ongoing series of events that I've been running for 5 years as a non-profit side project. I love hearing and learning from other people's stories and experiences, and I've watched a good many of these isolated talks, which I think is a brilliant idea. Having been invited to contribute, I decided on a topic and I started planning it all out. I was going to do a talk entitled "When Creativity is Your Only Currency." It was going to consist of me talking about the award-winning campaign we did during the World Cup for the National Centre for Domestic Violence, because, as you might have guessed from that title, we had no money to make that campaign. We also had no time. We made the whole thing in just 8 days, proactively. Creativity was literally our only currency. And that creativity paid off. The campaign raised awareness around the issue of domestic abuse, making headlines in over 18 countries, and it led to at least 20% more victims of domestic abuse calling the NCDV to access the help they needed to obtain a legal injunction, which can be life-saving. As an added bonus, we picked up several awards, including a Gold Can Lion. So I was going to talk about that in more detail, and then I was going to neatly segue into how creativity is very much our only currency right now, during these unprecedented times. When budgets are very low and production is incredibly limited, you can't just throw money at the problem. It was going to be a talk about the importance of creativity in the face of seemingly insurmountable problems. A pretty standard message from a creative director. I can openly admit that as a message, it would have had about this much impact. And I don't mean it wouldn't have been of any use. I like to think you'd have taken something from it. But in all honesty, it wasn't a message that really mattered. And I was made acutely aware of this just as I was finishing working it all out and I was about to film it. Because whilst I was pushing the flow of the message around in my mind, a really impactful message went out to the world. And it's a message that's been running for decades, centuries actually, to great effect. It's a message that's been disseminated so effectively it affects all of our lives in one way or another. Every single one of us, for better or worse. Even if we don't think it affects us, it does. And the latest execution in this campaign reached most of us in the form of a UGC film. And it was such a powerful execution that it made me cry. It was so shocking that it made hundreds of thousands of people cry. Because it was literally an execution. Another execution of another black man. A man called George Floyd. In the latest execution in the ongoing campaign against Black lives, a white police officer took the life of George Floyd. And the target audience got the message loud and clear. Black lives don't matter. This campaign in recent years has really gained momentum thanks to the support of the world's most powerful influencer, the leader of the free world, who quickly doubled down on that most recent message, just in case anyone was left in any doubt. The President of the United States took to Twitter to openly threaten the loss of even more black lives as people were still reacting to the most recently lost life. The police then arrested a black CNN reporter live on air for reporting on the fact that people were reacting, for doing his job. Even though, at this point, the man who killed George Floyd by kneeling unnecessarily on his neck for almost 9 minutes hadn't been arrested and was instead being protected by a large group of police outside his home. Just a few days prior to this, when a white woman called the police and emphasised that an African American man was making her feel threatened, that message mattered. When statistics show that coronavirus is killing more black and ethnic minority groups of people, yet the governments across the world do very little to investigate, the message matters. When a group of white protesters against the lockdown attempt to storm government buildings with guns and the police stand by and make no arrests, the message matters. When George Floyd is unarmed and merely suspected of using a counterfeit bill and is not only arrested but murdered by a police officer on film with seemingly no repercussions, the message matters. When my fiancée Sophie, who happens to be mixed race, is made to feel that people who look like her are worth less, the message matters. When Sophie posts about the pain she's feeling, and believe me, I've never seen her so broken, and her friends respond, the message matters. The message to say, I'm outraged by this shit. The message to say, how are you feeling? Please don't ever feel you're worth less. The message to say, I see you and I hear you, matters. When Twitter removed Trump's despicable tweet, that message matters. Because staying silent isn't even a choice anymore. That's why I decided to change my talk. Not because I feel qualified to talk about this, but because I am unqualified, because I don't know what it is to experience racism, is exactly why I must add my voice. No, I will never know what it feels like to be black or mixed race. No, I will never know the mental health issues that endless repression can create. But I can educate myself. I can open my eyes and my mind, and I can understand my white privilege. And I'll admit, I made a classic mistake when Sophie and I were both talking about the latest horror, the George Floyd news. We were in various states of tears and anger and bewilderment, and as I passed Sophie a tissue, I suggested that she do a talk about this to share how she felt. And as she looked at me through her tears and mumbled that she couldn't face it, I internally kicked myself for making the classic error. I'd asked her to do that thing that we white people have done for so long. Asking black people to explain and educate us. Asking the persecuted to be their own saviours. Asking black people to keep strong when they've taken this shit for over 400 years. One of the many pieces I've read over the past few days was an insightful piece by Shaniqua Golding entitled Maintaining Professionalism in the Age of Black Death is a Lot. I wanted to share this short section. Your black employees are exhausted. Your black employees are scared. Your black employees are crying in between meetings. Your black employees have mentally checked out. Your black employees are putting on a performance. Forgive us if our work isn't up to par. We just saw a lynching. Pardon us if we're quiet in the Zoom meetings. We're wondering if we'll be the next hashtag. Spare some grace if we're not at the company happy hour, because the hour of joy that most adults look forward to has been stolen from us due to the recent string of black deaths. As a white person, as white people, we can use our privilege to try to help. In some cases, I've seen white people form a barrier between the police and the black protesters. In my case, I wanted to use this platform to share more than a mediocre message. I wanted to share a message that matters, because Black lives matter. And here are some other ways we can all make sure that racists get the message. Thank you for listening.